All right, today we're talking about Gary, Indiana. It's a city that's famous for two things: its industrial past and its absolutely chilling paranormal history. We're going to dig in and figure out what really haunts the city. So yeah, we're going to explore the stories that put Gary on the map. We're talking demons, phantom hitchhikers, the whole deal. But we're also going to ask a much deeper question. What if the scariest things haunting a city aren't spirits at all, but something you can actually see and measure? And you just can't talk about Haunted Gary without starting right here. This is the case that became an international sensation. It's the story of a family's little rental house that some people came to believe was a literal portal to hell. Okay, so the stuff that Latoya Ammons and her family said was happening, it's just off the charts. This wasn't just bumps in the night. We're talking about swarms of black flies appearing in the middle of winter, children speaking in unnaturally deep voices, and then it gets even crazier. Claims of a 12-year-old levitating off her bed. It got so bad that child services got involved and multiple exorcisms were performed. But the single most terrifying claim, a case manager and a hospital nurse said they watched the 9-year-old son walk backwards, straight up a wall. And this is why the story got so much traction. It wasn't just one family's word against the world. The official police investigation brought in Captain Charles Austin, a 36-year veteran of the force. He walked in a total skeptic, thinking it was all a hoax. He walked out after everything he saw and heard and said, "I am a believer." That quote changed everything.
So how does a local haunting blow up like this? Well, it happened fast. An Indie Star article in 2014 made the story go viral. Almost immediately, paranormal investigator Zach Baggins swooped in and bought the house. Just 2 years later, he had it demolished, claiming it was just too dangerous to exist. From there, you get a documentary, and now it's even inspired a big-budget Netflix movie. One Little House in Gary became a global media franchise.
Of course not. You might think, okay, one super haunted house, is that it? Not even close. The demon house might be the most famous story to come out of Gary, but the city's folklore, well, it runs way, way deeper. You see, Gary is a classic Rust Belt city, a place built on industry that saw an incredible boom and then a painful bust. And that history has woven its own very unique ghost stories into the fabric of the community. Take a place like Reeder Road. This one stretch of pavement is like a magnet for legends from different eras. The most famous is the ghost of Elizabeth Wilson, a teenager who drowned back in 1955. People say they pick her up hitchhiking, but she always vanishes right as the car passes her grave. But then you have even older stories, whispers that the mob used the road as a dumping ground in the 30s. And on top of that, people report strange lights, disembodied voices, even a phantom train. And the ghost stories are baked right into the city's biggest industry, steel. The work was dangerous, and that danger created its own folklore. You have these incredible tales from fishermen who say they've pulled men from the lake, spirits of workers who died in industrial accidents, only to have them vanish from the boat. Current workers will tell you they hear voices where fatal accidents happened, or they'll smell the cigar smoke of a coworker who died years ago. These stories are like echoes of the city's industrial heart. But it's not just the stories, right? It's the actual look of the place. The landscape itself feels haunted. Decades of economic decline have left behind a city of ruins, and that eerie, empty landscape just naturally feels, well, spectral. And there is no better symbol of this than the City Methodist Church. I mean, look at this thing. It was once this magnificent 9-story Gothic masterpiece, but it was abandoned back in 1975. Today, it's this hauntingly beautiful skeleton of a building. It's become a huge draw for urban explorers and ghost hunters, and almost everyone who goes there reports this undeniable, eerie feeling. It's literally the ghost of a more prosperous past. Okay, so we've talked demons, apparitions, all the spooky stuff. But now we have to make a hard pivot, because there is another kind of haunting happening in Gary, one that you can measure with data and one that impacts real lives every single day. Just let that number sink in for a second. 1 in 112. According to crime data, that is your chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime in Gary. All of a sudden, a ghost in the corner doesn't seem like the scariest thing in the room, does it? And that number isn't just a fluke. To put it into perspective, look at this. For years, Gary's violent crime rate has absolutely towered over the U.S. national average. For a city its size, it has consistently ranked as one of the highest in the entire nation. And when you look at the breakdown, the scale of the problem is so clear. That 1 in 112 chance for violent crime is terrifying enough. But then look at property crime. Your chance is 1 in 35. These aren't supernatural threats. These are the real-world dangers that residents have been facing for decades. But, and this is really important, it's not all grim news. There is a glimmer of hope. The most recent reports actually show a significant 23% drop in homicides. It's a sign that even in a city that's been defined by these tough statistics, positive change is happening.
So this is where it all comes together. How do these two worlds, the supernatural legends and the cold, hard, statistical reality, actually connect? This, to me, is where the story of Gary becomes truly fascinating.
Just look at them side by side. On one hand, you have the supernatural fears, demons, spirits, curses. On the other, the tangible fears, violent crime, urban decay, poverty. Do you see the pattern? It's almost like one is a dark reflection of the other. The fear is real, it just takes different forms. And that's really the core idea here. Ghost stories don't just pop up out of thin air. The real-world trauma of a place like Gary, the crumbling buildings that already look haunted, the tragic history of accidents, the constant climate of fear born from crime and economic hardship, that creates the perfect, fertile ground for these supernatural tales to grow. In an environment like that, ghost stories don't just seem plausible, they feel inevitable. The ghosts become a metaphor for the city's very real pain. So that leaves us with this final thought. When we hear these haunting tales from a place like Gary, are we just listening to the echoes of a tragic past? Or are these stories something more? A living warning about what happens when a community is left to grapple with its demons, both the ones we imagine and the ones that are all too real. What do you think?